another full 12 months for all: businesses, the presidency, the clergy, legislators, the judiciary, educators, the health sector, journalists, the man on the street, and more.
As the year peters out, we recap some of the notable events, just in case you missed out on some headlines.
In 2018, the government introduced some of the major pro-poor policies.
The presidency marked the silver jubilee of the Fourth Republic, with activities beginning with a national Thanksgiving service. In attendance were the current and 3 former presidents of the Fourth Republic, to thank God for a stable democracy that has lasted over 2 decades. President Akufo-Addo called on Ghanaians to support the government, stressing that there were brighter days ahead. The National Chief Imam, Sheikh Osman Nuru Sharbutu, and the Anglican Bishop of Kumasi, Most Reverend Dr. Yinka Safo, all prayed for continued peace in Ghana. There were prayers for the president and his ministers, the legislature, the judiciary, and the nation.
In Germany, President Akufo-Addo defended why Africa must build value-added industrialized economies with modernized agriculture, which takes full advantage of the digital revolution. Speaking at the 5th German African Economic Forum in Dortmund, Nana Akufo-Addo was emphatic that Africa is capable of creating wealth and prosperity for the people.
Early in 2018, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, swore into office Mr. Martin Amidu as the country's first special prosecutor. On February 20th, the country's legislature gave approval to Mr. Amidu, paving the way for him to occupy his newly created office, while the President admonished the special prosecutor to discharge his duties without fear or favor or without ill will or malice. Mr. Amidu assured that he would treat crime as crime and nothing else.
In his second encounter with the media, the president said the office of the special prosecutor would help remove the fear of partisan prosecution and begin to put the fear of God in all public officials who intend to go down the path of corruption. President Akufo-Addo said both current and past public office holders who were found guilty of crimes against the state must be prosecuted by the special prosecutor. He said the rule of law must be adhered to at all times, stating that so far, every single corruption allegation leveled against some members of his government had been or was in the process of being investigated by independent bodies, and the findings so far had been made public. The president said in his first year of office, 2 separate bipartisan probes into allegations of corruption had been established in Parliament. The president hoped Mr. Martin Amidu will help to tackle corruption to save the country some money for development. In 2018, the government proposed that Wa Polytechnic in the Upper West region be named after former President Hila Liman. When the necessary parliamentary processes to effect the change of name are completed, the name of the school will be Dr. Hila Liman Polytechnic. President Akufo-Addo announced this in Accra at a ceremony to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the death of Dr. Hila Liman. Dr. Hila Liman was a scholar, diplomat, philanthropist, and above all, the president of the Third Republic. He rode into the highest office of the land on the ticket of the People's National Party in 1979. President Akufo-Addo promised that the government would take care of the widow of the late president.
The name of Ghana's presidential palace was changed from the Flagstaff House to Jubilee House. President Akufo-Addo effected the change by executive instrument to reflect the original name given to it by former President Kufuor when the building was constructed in 2008 to commemorate Ghana's independence celebration. The place was called Flagstaff House during the administration of the nation's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. According to government officials, the Flagstaff House was used for administrative purposes by the British Gold Coast government. But over the years, the building started deteriorating. Then in 2007, the then sitting president, Mr. John Agyekum Kufuor, put up this new building to serve as the seat of government to commemorate Ghana's 50th independence anniversary and named it Jubilee House. During the year, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, launched a 10-year cashew development plan at Wenchi in the Bonahafo region. This plan is expected to revamp the sector and provide the required infrastructure to sustain it. In the run-up to the 2016 general elections, the President, then candidate Akufo-Addo, promised to give priority to cashew and make it a major cash crop and foreign exchange earner for the country. This therefore fulfills that promise. The cashew crop in Ghana has grown from a meager 4,000 metric tons per annum as recorded in 1997 to more than 100,000 metric tons today and has some 13 processing companies with an installed capacity of 35,000 metric tons per year. With regards to export, which strategically drives the economy, cashew is estimated to have generated $244 million for the government from a total export of 163,000 metric tons in 2016 alone. This launch of the 10-year development plan intensifies the government's diversifying agenda and makes cashew a major cash crop and foreign exchange earner.
President Akufo-Addo, attending the Oxford 2018 Africa Conference in London, revealed that funding the free senior high school policy with part of the country's oil revenue was appropriate. He said one of the most equitable and transparent uses of the oil revenue is the funding of the policy, which guarantees every child of school-going age free access to secondary school education. On trade, President Akufo-Addo stated that Parliament's ratification of the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement would mark the end of an era of low volumes of intra-continental trade. The key resolutions of the Oxford Africa Conference were collated and passed on to key decision-makers such as the African Union and regional blocs, the Southern Africa Development Community, SADC, the Economic Community of West African State, ECOWAS, and the East African Community, EAC.
100,000 trainees of the Nation Builders Corps program NAPCO passed out at a ceremony in Accra. The recruits were offered jobs in various sectors, including health, education, and governance. Some of such jobs are in the private sector. The Nation Builders Corps is one of the government's flagship policies to address youth unemployment in the country. The models include Educate Ghana for the education sector, Revenue Ghana for those who will be working under the Ghana Revenue Authority, Heal Ghana for the health sector, Enterprise Ghana for those in accounting, Feed Ghana for the agriculture sector, and Civic Ghana for those going to the various district assemblies and the local governance system. Out of 100,000, more than 10,000 will be working in the revenue sector, 20,000 in the health sector, 8,000 in the agri sector, and 9,000 in the enterprise sector. The rest will be moved to other sectors. The national coordinator of the Nation Builders Corps, Dr. Anyas Ibrahim, was hopeful that the program will yield dividends for the nation. President Akufo-Addo said within 3 years of the program, the beneficiaries are expected to have received employable training for full-time employment. For the next 3 years, the beneficiaries will be working in all the 275 districts of the country. Government is investing about 3 billion Ghana cedis in the Nation Builders Corps program. During the year under review, the Committee of Eminent Chiefs Mediating the Dagbang Crisis presented a roadmap to resolve the dispute to President Akufo-Addo at the seat of government. Per this plan, the Abudu Royals have the go-ahead to perform the funeral of the late Yana Mahmoudou Abdullahi between December 14 and 28, while the late Yana Yakubu Andani's funeral will be held between January 4 and 18. The chairman of the committee, Otumfuo Tutu, said after the two funerals, the process for the enskinment of a new Yana will begin to bring finality to the crisis in the area. This is the first time the committee has presented a report since President Akufo-Addo assumed office as president.
Now we recap some of Vice President Dr. Mahmoudou Bawumia's itinerary for the year.
In the beginning of the year, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, graced the annual New Year School and Conference, which brought experts and academics together to share ideas and make recommendations for national development. He said provisional data indicated that Ghana's economy had grown by 7.9% in 2017 from 3.9% in 2016. During the same period, the country recorded a budget deficit of 5.6%, a drop from 9.3% of GDP in 2016. Ahead of introducing the digitalization of land registration in Ghana, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, paid a surprise visit to the Lands Commission in Accra for first-hand information about the process. During the year under review, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, said about 70% of lands in Ghana have no title. He hinted of a conference to seek input from experts to help deal with challenges involved in land acquisition in Ghana. Subsequently, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia attended the Modernization of Land Administration System Forum. Government stepped up efforts to get the private sector to participate in the modernization of land administration systems in Ghana. He also visited the Western Naval Command at Takoradi in the Western region. The Vice President said the proper policies would be fashioned out to retool both the Eastern and Western Naval Commands to enable them to protect Ghana's maritime domain and its natural resources. The flag officer commanding of the Western Naval Command, Commodore Isaac Osei-Kuffour, said the command is making frantic efforts to curtail the operation of illegal bunkering but lacks logistics and also does not have adequate fuel to power the two naval ships. This is hampering efforts to combat these illegal activities. In the course of the year, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, spent a couple of weeks in the United Kingdom receiving medical attention. Later, he joined the Christ Temple Congregation of the International Central Gospel Church, ICGC, in Accra to thank God for recovering from his recent sickness by grace. According to the Vice President, despite the role played by doctors, it was God's intervention that healed him, and therefore the need to show appreciation to him. The Akufo-Addo administration this year announced a policy dubbed Ghana Beyond Aid. The policy seeks to enhance domestic revenue mobilization, encourage higher private savings, pursue transparent and accountable governance of a country's natural resources, and leverage on Ghana's natural resources. At a conference in Accra on Ghana Beyond Aid revenue mobilization, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, said domestic revenue mobilization has become more imperative due to dwindling nature of foreign aid. Dr. Bawumia revealed that the new tax measures would deepen domestic revenue mobilization needed to finance and sustain key government social and development projects. In July, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, cut the sword for construction works to improve Ghana's international corridors at the Tema roundabout. The 250 million cedi project comprises a dual carriageway from around the toll booth to the Allied Oil Station on the Tema Aplau Road. Dr. Bawumia said similar projects would also be undertaken across the country to facilitate smooth transportation in the country. In August, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and his wife, Mrs. Samira Bawumia, left Accra for Mecca for the Hajj. It was his first pilgrimage to Mecca since becoming the Vice President of Ghana. He used the pilgrimage to pray for Allah's blessings upon the country and the President. He returned home on August 26, 2018. In November, 184 young Ghanaians were honored with gold awards for their voluntary service to humanity across the country. The awards were given by the Vice President of Ghana, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and the Earl of Wessex, Prince Edward's at the Jubilee House in Accra, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, said building the skills of the Ghanaian youth is the surest way to ensure their inclusion in nation building. During the latter part of the year, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia launched a book authored by Ghana's former First Lady, Nana Akufo-Addo Agyeman-Rawlings. The 331-page book titled It Takes a Woman is believed to be the first in the series of 4 books that are expected to provide deep insights into the political activism and experiences of Mrs. Rawlings, whose husband came to power through a coup d'etat in the late 1970s. The Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, said the life of the former First Lady, Nana Akufo-Addo Agyeman, is an inspiration which needs to be celebrated.
The First Lady, Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo, also visited parts of the country. Her schedule included a number of development projects.
In the course of the year, the First Lady, Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo, commissioned the mother and baby unit of the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. The facility is expected to reduce the high infant and maternal mortality recorded in the facility. The First Lady also cut the sword for the construction of a modern pediatric emergency center and intensive care unit at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital to improve child health. She also donated consumables to all district hospitals across the country to improve health delivery. The district's hospitals included the Kwewu Etibie Government Hospital in the Eastern Region, Karachi West District Hospital in the Volta Region, Bechem Government Hospital in the Tano South District of the Bunafu Region, and the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital in the Central Region. The First Lady also commissioned a new nursing school complex and nursing stimulators laboratory at the Wisconsin University in Accra. The stimulators would help train nurses and midwives in emergency obstetrics. On education, the First Lady's Foundation launched an initiative to promote and improve literacy among school pupils. It was dubbed Learning to Read, Reading to Learn. The Rebecca Foundation also offers scholarship to some students of the SOS Children's Villages, Ghana, to study in China. She has well donated educational materials to some selected schools. Also, the First Lady, Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo, opened the second African Girls Summit on ending child marriage in Africa. At a gala dance to raise funds for physically challenged women entrepreneurs, Mrs. Akufo-Addo advised women to take advantage of opportunities. Across Africa, more than 1 in 10 young women are married off before their 15th birthday. This is despite efforts to end child marriages and protect their human rights. In the latter part of the year, a project to put girls who have dropped out of school back in class or given some skills training was launched by the First Lady, Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo. This enables the girls to acquire an income while ensuring that those who are likely to drop out of school are supported to stay in school. The Because I Want to Be project is being piloted in 9 coastal communities in the Greater Accra region. It is a collaboration between the Rebecca Foundation and the United Nations Population Fund. The First Lady also joined the staff of the Princess Marie-Louise Hospital in Accra and children on admission there to celebrate the hospital's end-of-year get-together. She donated assorted items to mothers and children on admission at the hospital. She believes that for children, Christmas is a special moment, that she made donation towards the occasion. There were other donations from the wife of the Nigerian High Commissioner, the 910 ladies of Masha of Okponglo in Accra, and old ladies of the St. Rose Senior High School.
Time now to look at activities and initiatives spearheaded by the wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Samira Bawumia, during the year under review.
Through her advocacy platform, the Coalition of Persons Against Sexual and Gender-Based Violence and Harmful Practices, Kopash, the wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Samira Baumia, spearheaded a national response against threats to the girl child and the woman at a program to sensitize faith-based leaders to how they can use their influence to reform society. Mrs. Samira Baumia entreated the leaders not to look on unconcerned while criminal acts are perpetrated against women. She implored such leaders to empower and protect the girl child and the woman from domestic violence and harmful cultural practices. Also during the year, the wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Samira Baumia, launched a microfinance scheme to provide the much-needed credit lines to women entrepreneurs at Bogosu in the Western region. The scheme was inaugurated with a seed fund of 20,000 Ghana cedis. Mrs. Baumia said experience has shown that where women do have equal opportunities and right, economic growth improves and poverty falls quicker for everyone. According to her, this is the motivation behind the initiative. As part of her advocacy drive to empower girls on sexual and reproductive health, the wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Samira Baumia, interacted with a number of girls from the Ghana-Lebanon Islamic Senior High School. Through her advocacy platform, the Coalition of Persons Against Sexual and Gender-Based Violence and Harmful Practices, COPASH, the wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Samira Baumia, spearheaded a national response against threats to the girl child and the woman at a program to sensitize faith-based leaders to how they can use their influence to reform society. Mrs. Samira Baumia entreated the leaders not to look on unconcerned while criminal acts are perpetrated against women. She implored such leaders to empower and protect the girl child and the woman from domestic violence and harmful cultural practices.
On her visit to the Ashanti region in the latter part of the year, Mrs. Samira Baumia assured the various women's groups of the government's resolve to deliver on its promises. At the Atonsu market in Asokwa municipality, Mrs. Baumia interacted with the market women. On her second day in the region, Mrs. Baumia feted over 300 widows from the various constituencies in the region at the premises of the Regional Coordinating Council. She asked the widows to have confidence in the government to address their needs through the various policies and intervention.
Now we recap some visits by some foreign dignitaries.
First to visit the country in 2018 was a delegation from the U.S. state of Nevada led by the governor, Mr. Brian Sandoval. They were here to explore areas of economic cooperation with Ghana. The visit was reciprocal to President Akufo-Addo's visit to the U.S. in February this year to address the National Association of Governors. Mr. Sandoval stated that the state of Nevada was ready to assist Ghana in the areas of agriculture, renewable energy technology, mining, and safe water production. At the invitation of the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, German Chancellor Angela Merkel paid a day's working visit to the country on 30th August. It was to strengthen relations between Ghana and Germany. It was also for Ghana to tap into German expertise in engineering, energy, vocational training, pharmaceuticals and healthcare, and technology. One of the dividends from the German Chancellor's visit was that Volkswagen, commonly called VW, agreed to set up a vehicle assembly plant with a Ghanaian company in Ghana. President Akufo-Addo also appealed to Germany to support Ghana's candidature for a non-permanent seat at the UN Security Council from 2020 to 2021. He also urged Germany to use her presence at the world body to promote reforms to enable Africa to get a permanent seat at the UN. On October 2, the First Lady of the United States of America, Mrs. Melania Trump, was in the country for a 2-day visit en route to Kenya, Malawi, and Egypt. While here, she paid a courtesy call on the paramount chief of the Ogwa traditional area, Osabari Makwesiata, to formally announce her presence in the central region. She then visited the Cape Coast Castle and other tourist sites in the region before leaving for Nigeria. On 28 September, Ghana welcomed the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall. It was a 4-day royal visit which highlighted the significant ties between the people of the United Kingdom and Ghana. At a public lecture in Accra, the heir apparent to the British throne admitted Britain bears a responsibility for the horrors that characterized the African-European relations in the pre-colonial period. While here, the Prince visited the Kejetia Redevelopment Project facility, which is being funded by UK. He also announced Ghana as the first African country to benefit from the Prince of Wales Charitable Foundation. Crowning his visit was a companion of the Order of Star of Ghana, which was conferred on him by President Akufo-Addo. The Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Everett Gonsalves. The 5-day working visit was to deepen relations between Ghana and the island country. Until his coming, Ghana and St. Vincent and the Grenadines did not have strong ties. The two countries have now resolved to turn things around by reaching out to each other at the highest political level. The last to visit the country was the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Madame Christine Lagarde. She was met on arrival by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Minister for Planning, Professor John Bafo, and the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison. Her 3-day visit to the country came weeks ahead of Ghana's conclusion of the IMF program and formed part of the final negotiation as Ghana prepares to exit the 3-year external credit program of $918 million. In talks with the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, she lauded the government for putting the economy on a sound footing, with all the indicators pointing in the right direction. President Akufo-Addo said Ghana is determined to abide by the rules of the game in order not to go back to the IMF for a bailout.
The two major political parties during the year under review elected new executives to steer their administrative affairs ahead of the 2020 elections. Let's now do some politics.
The governing New Patriotic Party, NPP, held its 26th National Delegates Conference on June 15 to 17, 2018 at Koforidua in the Eastern Region, giving the party the opportunity to recount its gains over the last few years and elect new leaders to steer the administrative affairs of the NPP for the next 4 years. The 6,000 NPP delegates were confronted with the challenge of maintaining the men and women who won the 2016 elections or give the chance to a new breed of leadership. After long hours of voting, counting and declaration, the delegates settled for continuity by retaining acting chairman Mr. Freddie Blay with his acting general secretary John Buedu, as well as other executives who won the 2016 elections. Freddie Blay was elected as the substantive chairman of the governing New Patriotic Party in Koforidua, where the party held its National Delegates Conference. Mr. Blay polled 3,021 votes as against 2,515 of his closest contender and 4-time aspirant Stephen Ntim. John Buedu polled 4,277 votes ahead of his only contender for the General Secretary role, Richard Ahiagba, who polled 1,274 votes. National organizer Samia Uku made a smooth transition from the youth organizer role to the national organizer position with a commanding 4,913 votes. Suleimana Sadiq garnered 466 votes, with Emmanuel Kodia polling just 142 votes. For the national treasurer position, Kwabena Bankwa-Yeboah maintained his position with 2,492 votes, twice more than his closest contender, Nuhu Mahama, who polled 1,050 votes. Kate Jemfua was also voted women's organizer. She polled 686 votes, with Joyce Koniki Zempari polling 109 votes. In the end, continuity won. The NDC presidential primaries were originally scheduled for December 2018, but the event was moved to January 2019, overloaded party and national calendars. It was also to allow the party to sort itself out following protests at the filing fee of 400,000 Ghana cedis, or the old 4 billion cedis. Some of the aspirants took the matter to the Council of Elders of the party, to some extent got redress. The council, chaired by former President of the Republic and founder of the party, Fly Lieutenant J.J. Rawlings, they reduced the amount by 100,000 Ghana cedis, or the old 1 billion cedis. It was at this juncture that some of the aspirants began to drop out of the race. They include a former Central Regional Minister, Mr. Kweku Ricketts Hagan, party communicator, Mr. Stephen Atubiga, former mayor of Kumasi, Mr. Kujubonsu, and the legal practitioner, Mr. Edem Agbanava. Still in the NDC race are former President John Mahama, second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Alban Bagbin, a former Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Professor Joshua Alabi, a former Chief Executive of the National Health Insurance Authority, Mr. Sylvester Mensah, a former Trade and Industry Minister, Dr. Ekospio Gabra, former cadre of the party, Mr. Guzi Tano, and businessman Nuruddin Idrisu. They have been crisscrossing the country, wooing delegates in the hope of winning the mantle to lead the NDC in the 2020 presidential elections. Meanwhile, precursor to the NDC flag-bearer contest were the Delegates Congress, in which the party elected its branch, constituency, regional and national executives. The key positions were occupied as follows: National Chairman Mr. Samuel Ofusu-Ampofo, Deputy National Chairpersons Alhaji Said Sinari, Chief Azoka, and Madam Sherry Aite. General Secretary Mr. Johnson Esiedun Ketia, Deputy General Secretaries Mr. Peter Buama Otokono and Madam Barbara Asamoah. National Organizer Joshua Akamba, National Youth Organizer Mr. George Opare Ado, the Zongo Caucus Coordinator Alhaji Abdul Aziz Mohammed, National Communications Officer Mr. Sami Jemfi, National Women's Organizer Dr. Hannah Bisiu, and NDC Professionals Forum Chairmanship, which is not elective, is occupied by Mr. Sampi Yale. Over 9,000 delegates voted in the NDC's National Delegates Congress in Accra, the largest electoral college of any political party in Ghana.
The country's legislators, many of whom were in their second year, engaged in open, frank, fair and honest debates on the floor of Parliament. It was interesting to watch the new entrants find their feet and make a name. Among the many bills on the floor were the use of drones to distribute essential medicines to remote areas of the country.
The legislature commemorated 25 years of uninterrupted parliamentary democracy in 2018. During the year, they discussed strengthening the legislative arm of government, the fight for gender equality, and equal participation of women in decision-making processes. For Parliament Appointment Committee, it was the vetting of the Special Prosecutor nominee, Mr. Martin Amidu, his deputy, Mrs. Cynthia Jane Kwashi Lamte, and the 5 justices to the Supreme Court. Some former appointees under the Mahama administration alleged to have benefited from double salaries were interrogated by the BNI in Accra. They included a former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. Inusa Fusheni, and a former Minister of State in charge of social and allied institutions, Mrs. Comfort Doi Kujo. A former Ashanti and Bonahafo Regional Minister, Mr. Eric Opoku, also faced new accusations of stealing. The Speaker of Parliament, Professor Mike Okwe, was sworn in 3 times as the acting president when both the president and the vice president, Dr. Baumia, travelled on official duty. The cash for seed, double salary saga, and the inflated price of a Norway building acquired for Ghana's embassy engaged lawmakers. On the cash for seat, a 5-member committee was instituted to investigate the alleged extortions of monies from expatriate businesses. The People's Representatives of Ghana also unanimously and strongly opposed any attempt to pass any law promoting gay rights or be misled into the practice. They say Ghana would not compromise on her stance against same-sex marriage and want the international community to respect Ghana's sovereignty. Bills looked at included the Witness Protection Bill, Special Petroleum Tax Amendment, Minerals Investment Fund and Legal Aid, Integrated Aluminium Authority, and the popular luxury vehicle income bills were also discussed. while the House succeeded in passing the appropriation and fiscal responsibility bills into law, the Right to Information Bill was still at the consideration stage despite earlier promises by leadership that it would be passed. Parliament approved several loans, which included the $2 billion Master Support Project Agreement between the Government of Ghana and Sino Hydro Corporation. The facility is for priority infrastructure projects across the country. 2 new loan facilities to expand and undertake Phase 2 of the Ghana Medical Center at Legon in Accra also sailed through. The controversial $12 million drone facility to distribute medical supplies to remote areas was approved. The Ameri deal, which was recontracted by the Akufo-Addo government and brought before Parliament for approval, stirred up a lot of controversy and culminated in the sacking of the then Energy Minister, Mr. Boakye Ejaku. Members of Parliament had their turn to register for the Ghana card, but the week-long event was without the minority caucus in Parliament, who were demanding some answers on the issuance and terms of the contract and said it was overpriced. Meanwhile, the minority staged 3 walkouts during the year under review. One accusation was that the Speaker's conduct towards them was bad. This follows the Speaker's failure to allow the Member of Parliament for Adaklu, Mr. Kwame Gavins Abuja, to make his point before the adoption of the CI 109, which captured the creation of the new regions. A new wave of communication sign language was introduced as part of parliamentary proceedings. It was to bridge the communication gap between members and the hearing impaired. The 2019 Budget Statement and Economic Policy of Government was presented by the Minister for Finance, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, on November 15. It was themed A Stronger Economy for Jobs and Prosperity and was centered on job creation. Areas of focus were revitalization of VALCO, agriculture modernization, industrialization, entrepreneurship development, and the widening of the tax net to recoup more revenue. The 2019 budget was later approved on November 29 after a series of debate, but not without some strong objections from the minority side. During the year, the sitting MP for Ayawaso West Wuogon, Mr. Emmanuel Tremantin Ejaku, passed away. The pharmacist, politician and former chief executive of the Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, died in the United States of America on Wednesday, November 21, 2018.
In the year under review, the Justice for All program made progress in getting a number of remand prisoners released. The Supreme Court dismissed a case challenging the proposed creation of 6 new regions, and the Chief Justice, Mrs. Sophia Ekufu, organized a special mentoring program educating girls about legal processes. These are some of the headlines from the courts.
At the Chief Justice's special mentoring program in Koforidua, Mrs. Sophia Ekufu interacted with students and pupils. The program was instituted by her predecessor, Chief Justice Georgina Theodora Wood, in 2008 and seeks to expose students to the structure of the court system and also whip up their interest in the legal profession. It is also intended to imbue the students with the virtue of patriotism and selfless service to the nation. The Chief Justice asked the youth to be productive to make an impact in their communities. The program was held outside Accra for the first time at Asimfoso in the Central Region for 10 selected basic schools. The Eastern Region is the second region to have benefited from the program. The Attorney General also toured all courts nationwide and inspected facilities at the Sinchi Magistrate Court in the Sujaman district of the Eastern Region. 6 courts in the Central Region risk being shut down. The Chief Justice was shocked at the deplorable state of some of the courts she visited. She was not happy about how the buildings are poorly structured and the lack of basic facilities. The Minister for Justice and Attorney General, Mrs. Gloria Akufo, was also concerned about the situation, saying all court facilities must be improved for a healthy work environment. Moving on to the judgment death case involving businessman Mr. Woyome, the Supreme Court set 21st January 2019 to rule on whether some identified properties of Mr. Alfred Agbeshi Woyome actually belong to him or to the UT Bank. The state identified 5 properties it believes belongs to Mr. Woyome, but UT Bank claimed ownership of them. After presenting their respective arguments before a single judge, Mr. Justice Anthony Benin, the Supreme Court, directed the parties to file their written addresses in 14 days for judgment on the set date. Also in cases heard by the courts this year, a 7-member panel of judges of the Supreme Court unanimously dismissed the application challenging the creation of 6 new regions. The court says the applications did not properly invoke the jurisdiction of the Apex Court. The panel, presided over by Madam Justice Sophia Adinshira, said the Commission was right to recommend the creation of the new regions and that there is no ambiguity about the case. The court said the EC is lawful to determine where the referendum should be held. Another interesting case that came up for mention was when in November, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. David Asantia Pietu, escaped a possible prison sentence or the imposition of a fine on him by an Accra High Court. The IGP was saved after Deputy Attorney General Mr. Godfred Yeboah-Dami appealed the court decision which found him, the IGP, guilty of contempt. Justice Daniel Mensah had found the IGP guilty of contempt for willfully disobeying orders to provide security for the execution of a court order for the sale of 12 blocks of flats belonging to one Samuel Agri Jr. and Mr. Augustine Jichi. Another significant milestone in the judicial calendar was the 10th anniversary of the Justice for All program, which was celebrated with an awards dinner with the President of Ghana and the Chief Justice in attendance. Individuals and organizations that have contributed to the success of the Justice for All program were honored at a ceremony in Accra. GBC 24's Barbara Abnakuma was among journalists recognized by the judiciary for helping to bring justice to people who have been kept on remand in prison for long periods without access to justice.
It's still here in review live on GBC 24 and GTV. At this point, we take a look at what's been happening in the business sector, and the Bank of Ghana took over the asset of 5 banks in the country, namely Royal Bank, Beige Bank, Unibank, Construction Bank, and Sovereign Bank, and merged them into the Consolidated Bank. GRA began full implementation of the tax stamp policy, and mobile money interoperability phase 2 also began.
The Bank of Ghana during the year merged 5 banks into one, calling it the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. The banks are Beige, Sovereign, Construction, Unibank, and Royal Bank. The governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, said the decision follows the insolvency of the 5 banks after investigation. As part of efforts to strengthen the new Consolidated Bank, the government has issued a bond totaling 5.6 billion cedis to contain the bad assets of the affected banks. All good assets and liabilities of these 5 banks have been transferred to the Consolidated Bank Limited. The governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, spoke of the challenges these banks are facing and the need to recapitalize them. Dr. Addison added that a decision by the Bank of Ghana was not in relation with inability of these banks to meet the minimum capital requirements, but rather measures taken by the regulator to maintain a strong indigenous banking presence in the financial and banking sector. The Auditor General stated that cleaning the payroll of ghost names is necessary in addressing the high rate of ghost names in the system. Launching the program in Tamale in the northern region, the Auditor General appealed to Ghanaians to support the ongoing nationwide payroll and personal verification audit in all government institutions.
The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, during the year embarked on an enforcement and compliance of the excise tax stamp. The enforcement involved the detention, seizure, and imposition of the 300% penalty of the duties and taxes on culprits. The Commissioner General of the GRA, Mr. Kofi Inti, said Importers, manufacturers, wholesalers and retailers must ensure that the stamp is evident on their products. Still on the GRA, the authority again introduced a tin policy. According to the GRA, without the tin number, individuals cannot clear goods at the port, register land at the Lands Commission, obtain a tax clearance certificate from the GRA, or even open a bank account without the tin registration. One cannot register a company at the Registrar General's Department, nor register a vehicle at the Driver and Vehicles Licensing Authority (DVLA) without a tin number. In addition, one cannot obtain payment for jobs done for government or bid for a contract in any government agency. In the event that a person is duped, ejected by a landlord, or any other issue that will require that he files a complaint at the court, the person will not be able to do same without a tin. The introduction of the policy was met with a mixed reaction from the public. While some people have described it as a good step to firm up Ghana's tax base, others say the implementation process is discouraging and may defeat the purpose for which it was introduced.
A public health problem and the introduction of the electronic renewal process for NHIS clients whose cards have expired.
Ghana this year introduced a new physiology into medical practice, the no-bed syndrome. The lack of beds for inpatients, termed no-bed syndrome, hit public hospitals in Ghana. There were troubling reports of how some Ghanaians died at the entrance of hospitals, all because there were no beds available. The no-bed syndrome became public after the death of a 70-year-old man, Mr. Anthony Achampong, after 7 hospitals failed to admit him with the excuse that there was no bed available. In finding a solution to the problem, the Ghana Health Service and the Sector Ministry set up a committee to investigate the matter. The Kolebu Teaching Hospital was one of the facilities that said it did not have enough beds. In the course of the year, a 70-bed capacity surgical, medical and emergency unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital was opened on Friday, 20th July, to partly save the situation. President Akufo-Addo made a personal presentation of 200 beds, 10 trolleys and 10 wheelchairs to the hospital. The chief executive of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Dr. Daniel Asari, was also appointed the new chief executive of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. The owner and doctor in charge of the Advanced Body Sculpt Center, known as Obenfo Hospital, was charged with murder by an Accra Magistrate Court. Dr. Dominic Obeng Ando was remanded in custody for his alleged role in the mysterious death of Stacey Ofe Dakon, who until her death was the deputy chief executive of the National Entrepreneurship Innovative Program. According to the family, although the body of the deceased was deposited at the morgue within 4 hours of her death, they were informed about the incident 3 days later. In 2018, there was a growing incidence of tramadol abuse among the Ghanaian youth in parts of the country. According to medical experts, tramadol, a pain reliever, functions like heroin and can cause psychotic problems and damage vital organs of the human body when abused. The Ministry of Health restricted access to the use of tramadol. The Health Minister, Mr. Kweku Agyemang-Manu, explained that the restriction would reduce the availability of the prescription drug on the market. This year, Ghana made strides when she received the World Health Organization validation letter and a certificate for successfully eliminating trachoma as a public health problem. By this, Ghana became the first African country south of the Sahara to achieve this milestone 2 years before the 2020 global elimination target year. From December 2018, the National Health Insurance Scheme introduced the electronic renewal process for clients whose cards have expired. Its introduction allowed clients to renew their membership from the comfort of their homes using an electronic platform which can be accessed by dialing a short code. The authority began a nationwide campaign to educate the media and the general public on the new innovations. In July, government officially opened the outpatient department and administration unit of the 650-bed capacity University of Ghana Medical Center. The center only attends to referral cases. Later in the year, Parliament approved a $50 million loan to fund the second phase of the University of Ghana Medical Center. The Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Oforiatta, disclosed this during the 2019 budget presentation in Parliament. Finally, the Public Procurement Authority approved a sole sourcing contract request from government to engage Silicon Valley-based logistics company Zipline International Incorporated to deliver medicines and other medical supplies to health facilities across the country using drones. The $12.5 million contract comes with a design, installation and operation over a period of 4 years.
Before 2018 wrapped up, a new Deputy Director General was appointed for the public service broadcaster, GBC. These and more next.
The National Media Commission appointed Mr. Augustus Yamson as the new Deputy Director General for GBC. Mr. Yamson replaces Mrs. Francisca Ashite Odunton, who was appointed Ghana's High Commissioner to Kenya in August 2017. Organizers of the 23rd Ghana Journalists Association Awards honored some journalists and selected media institutions at the 2018 event. GBC's Barbara Gazy, Rebecca Ekpe and Peggy Donko received awards at the ceremony. GBC's Ubunu Radio and Radio Central received awards for Best Rural Radio Station in Accra and Central Regions respectively. Bernard Avle, host of City Breakfast Show, was adjudged the 2017 Journalist of the Year. Bernard is to receive a cash prize of 3-bedroom house and an SUV. President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Mr. Afil Moni, complained about the continuous attacks on journalists in recent times across the world. He said the association is working on projects for journalists in the country. The Ghana Institute of Journalism, GIJ, also held a forum in Accra on the need to pay TV license. The topic was, if not the TV license fee, then what? A former Director General of GBC, Mr. William Ampemdaku, said it was important to pay the license fee to enable the public service broadcaster to deliver its constitutional mandate. Mr. Ampemdaku emphasized the need for further education on this. The Acting Director of Finance at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Pastor Ebenezer Butchie, said education is still ongoing for the public to pay the license fee. GBC officially reintroduced the collection of the TV license fees in 2015 after a period of suspension.
Climaxing its activities in celebrating this year's Christmas, GBC's 9 lessons and carols saw in attendance the board, management and staff of the corporation. There were some musicians and choral groups to spice the event. GBC's Evergreen Choir also performed some carols. The carol service was also interspersed with traditional lessons from the Bible chronicling the Messiah's birth. In a Christmas message, the Vicar General of the Catholic Archdiocese of Accra, Monsignor Francis Adoboli, asked all Ghanaians to exhibit love, which is the reason for the season. This year's festival had a theme, celebrating a king like no other.
Ghana, for the first time, hosted 53 other African countries to the 5th edition of the All African Music Awards, AFRIMA, and the late dancehall artist Ebony Rains made history at the 2018 Vodafone Ghana Music Awards as the first female to win the Artist of the Year award. We bring you more from the arts and entertainment world.
The entertainment calendar kick-started with the launch of the 13th edition of the annual Kwewu Paragliding Festival in Accra. The Paragliding Festival is one of the flagship events on the tourism calendar. It is held every year by the Ghana Tourism Authority during the Easter holidays at Kwewu. It is aimed at boosting domestic and international tourism, and gradually it has lived up to expectation. The Accra Fashion Week made history as the first ever national fashion week in Africa outside of South Africa to go twice a year, putting Ghana on the forefront of the fashion map. With a spectacular set of talented designers, the fashion event was dubbed the Summer Hamilton. Accra Fashion Week is an annual event where African fashioneers, pioneers, and creatives come together to showcase designs and satisfy the growing thirst for African fashion creativity across the globe. This year's show saw beautiful designs on the runway.
Well, for me, but I don't like really singing where I think I'll be in the next decade.
The late dancehall artist Ebony Rains made history at the 2018 Vodafone Ghana Music Awards as she beat competition from Sarkodie, Shatawale, Joe Metal, Stoneboy to the Artist of the Year award. Ebony is the first female to win the award and the first to win the award posthumously. Kwame Eugene won the Best New Artist of the Year award. Song of the Year award went to Fancy Gadam. 2018 VGMA Lifetime Achievement Award went to Na Manua Dodu of Wolomen Group. Ghana for the first time hosted 53 other African countries to the 5th edition of the All Africa Music Awards Afrima in Accra. The annual awards, which is the continent's biggest music event, was to appreciate and reward African artists for promoting Africa through music. Ghana's Stoneboy, Kim Promise, Sarkodie and Shatawale were among artists who received awards at the All Africa Music Awards Afrima in Accra. Nigerian singer Davido emerged Afrima Artist of the Year.
My son, it is your time.
Show me my respect and bow down.
On the international front, Black Panther, the breakthrough superhero film that has become one of the highest grossing motion pictures of all time, was nominated for 7 awards at the 2018 MTV Movie and TV Awards, and it took home 4, winning Best Movie, Best Performance in a Movie, Chadwick Boseman, Best Hero, the action movie about the fictional African kingdom of Wakanda, led with 7 nominations, including Best Movie for the June 18 awards.
That's the year wrapped up in summary.